So I'm just demonstrating taking a project that I've kind of completed or good enough completed and moving it up to GitHub. So this was a project that uses a API to pull down all of the publications by CU faculty within the last 5 years that have international co-authors. And so the code is written here in Python. These are kind of the results. So these are CU, this is a CU Boulder affiliate, and this is all of the people at different universities that they have, different international universities that they have collaborated with. All of that information is saved in a folder called CU International Collaborators. And you can see within that folder, I have some CSV output. I have some other output in a JSON format, which is what we were just looking at here. And then I have the code itself, the Python file that created it, and some other output that isn't super important for the purposes of this demonstration. The one thing I will say is that this one, this multinational pubs, is a very large file. It's like a gigabyte. And so what I'm going to do now is to take everything in this folder, with the exception of this bottom one called multinationalpubs.json, and move it up into a brand new GitHub repository. I'm working in a tool called Visual Studio Code, or VS Code. It's free. It's widely used. It works just as I'm demonstrating it. Now it will work for R. It'll work for SAS. It'll work for SQL. It'll work for just a text file. It'll work for anything in this way. So I am clicking on this symbol, which is for GitHub. And then I'm just going to click this button, Publish to GitHub. And it wants me to sign in, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to say Continue. And I'm going to authorize it. I'm going to do my password. And I'm going to allow. And I'm going to open. And now I'm going to publish this to a private GitHub repository within my profile. And so I'm just going to click on this one. The difference being a public GitHub repository, anybody in the world can see it. Because I have a paid GitHub account, I have the option to publish it to a private repository, which is what I'm going to do. I can always make it public later, but for now, the world doesn't need to see this, so I'm going to choose a private repository. Now it's asking me to choose which files should be included in the repository, and I'm going to uncheck this one, this huge 1 gigabyte data file that I had. Part of that is because GitHub isn't great for storing large files, and part of it is because anybody could recreate this file sort of programmatically just by running that code. So the data exists online somewhere else. There's no need for me to sort of push this file up. I am going to push up the results of the code, these CSVs, because I want to give those to people to use for this ranking thing that we have to do. So I'm going to say OK. And it's kind of doing its thing. It might take a minute. And if you can see down here, it says successfully published to GitHub. I can open in GitHub. And I'm going to say OK. And I'll have it ask me later. And then if we go back to the browser, so now all of the stuff that I made is now available online. So this is a repository online that I could share with other people. This is my GitHub profile. But if I go to repositories, you can see that 37 seconds ago, I uploaded this file. We can click on it. And we can see that now I just have this file. And if we wanted to, say, look at the CSV file, this is just the author names. We can do that, and these are the names of CU-affiliated people who had international co-authors. If we wanted to look at this JSON file, whoops, that one actually doesn't have much. Anyway, I didn't do sufficient cleanup here. Let's see. Is it this one? No. No. Oh, I see. It was there. It just does. It's a large file and it doesn't want to show it. So I can click this View Raw button and now it will show it to me. Sorry for the little hiccup. But we can see the way this is structured is this is a CU Boulder faculty, and then these are their collaborators. I also have this stored in such a way that just these names up here, the ones that are sort of not indented, the sort of outdented names, those also just appear in a list. So that's that. Now, to help orient people to this repository, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to create a README. So now, before I was editing code, when I was working in this Visual Studio Code application, that was on my desktop, and I was writing code on my desktop and pushing it up to the internet. Now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to click this little button to add a README. And so a README becomes like the landing page for this application, or for this little repository. It's not an application, for this little kind of website on GitHub. And so this is going to be called, I'm going to give this a title, and I will call it Getting International Collaborators for CU Faculty. And I'll write something more detailed later, but I'm not going to sort of bore you with this. The code here creates a list of blah. It does this thing and this thing. And so I'm writing now in this sort of plain looking text editor. And now I'm going to commit this file back to the repository. So I've created this file online. I'm going to commit it. I had to write a commit message here. It wrote one for me saying create README file. And I'm going to commit this new file. So now you can see on this landing page for this repository, there's this title, which I just typed with my beautiful spelling and capitalization. And you can see that actually the thing that I typed with the stars and stuff, it's got some formatting in it. And so that is markdown formatting. And so markdown is a way to sort of create formatting, simple formatting in a text editor. But now we have a problem because I have this file, this README file, exists online in my GitHub account, but it doesn't exist locally in on my computer. So I want to pull down this file. So now what I'm going to do is, and I can prove that to you if we look in this is the files that are in the folder. You can see there is no README file. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to pull. I'm not sure what this button. There may be other ways to do this, but this is how I know to do it. I'm just going to click on pull. And now it should have pulled that file in. And you can see it here, README. And so maybe I want to fix the spelling. So now I'm back working on my local computer. International Collaborators for CU Faculty. And I won't type anymore, but I made some changes. So I'm going to save this. And if I go back, you can see there's a little one on this GitHub thing. If I go back to this, you can see it's told me that GitHub has changed. So now I'm going to say fixed spelling errors in my README. So those are the spelling. Let's just go with that. And I'm going to click on the plus here to add it to that commit. And then I'm going to click the check to commit. And now I'm going to go to push. and it's pushing these changes back up to GitHub. And now we can see if I refresh this page, hopefully my spelling errors will be fixed. Yes, and we'll stop there. Hopefully this was helpful.